So let's spend a little time in the kitchen and talk about my latest endeavor of growing a Scoby for some kombucha. Hey, let me show you my latest endeavor in the kitchen. I am starting to brew my own kombucha. I've enjoyed kombucha for a while now. Now, I do have to admit, the very first time I tried it, I was like, ugh, what is this? Why would you drink fizzy vinegar? But maybe I just didn't have the best one the first taste, or maybe it's an acquired taste. But I am loving kombucha now, and I'm also loving the health benefits of it. It is a fermented tea. It's got all kinds of flavorings. The store-bought kind can be flavored multiple and many different ways, but its base is a fermented tea. And it has lots of beneficial bacteria that help your gut. It helps you digest. It helps your immune health. And overall, very good for you and very tasty. Low calorie, it's a great drink. If you like sweet tea and you can acquire the taste for the fermented tea, you're gonna love kombucha. Try it, give it a try. They sell it in the stores. This one here is one of my favorites. This is called Gingerade, and it is the GTS kombucha that HEB sells for like $2.69 or so a bottle. It's much pricier than that in convenience stores. It's much pricier than that in other markets. Here I'm getting it for about $2.69 a bottle. But I got interested in trying to do it myself at home because it's very simple and much less. You can make it for pennies in your house. But what you need to do it with is a Scoby. A Scoby is a weird, alien almost looking, slimy, rubbery looking beast. And I'm growing one right now, and I'll show you how I did it. It stands for Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast. Scoby, S-C-O-B-Y. Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast. So what you want to do is create this slime disc to brew your kombucha with. And the way you create it is by using a starter kombucha. Now, one of the easiest ways would be to get a Scoby from a friend who's growing one. They can give you some, they can layer some off, cut one and give it to you, and you can grow yours from that. But if you're starting one from scratch like I'm doing right now, you want to use the original, no flavoring, just the original kombucha itself. This is the HEB brand again. Well, it's not HEB brand, it's GTS brand. They sell it at HEB, but this is just the original blue label kombucha. It has the yeast and the bacteria in it that you need to create your own Scoby. Let me show you where my Scoby lives. Ooh, this is the cabinet. This is where my Scoby's growing. Now, I'm by no means an expert at this. This is my very first Scoby that I'm growing, and I just started it yesterday, so you're not going to see much yet. But as the weeks progress, it will start forming up here on top. It'll take the shape of this bowl or this mason jar that I'm using. And I'm using this one because I'm creating my Scoby in this jar because that's about the size jar that I want to brew my kombucha in, and that's about the amount of kombucha that I want to brew at a time. So my Scoby's going to form right here on top, and I'll be showing it to you as the weeks progress. It needs a nice, dark, cool place to grow. It's going to take it 6 to 8 weeks, and we're going to be checking on the progress of it in the Scoby house. What I used was a half a mason jar, the quart mason jar. I put black tea, just plain old black tea. This isn't even organic. Go ahead, judge away. You can use organic, you can use a specialty tea, you can use green tea. All the stuff I read about starting a Scoby, they recommended just starting with a black tea. I made a very strong mixture of black tea, about half of this quart-sized mason jar full. And I used 3 of these larger bags. It was a really good and dark tea. I like my tea strong, so you can adjust that to taste. But to a half of a jar, I used a 1/3 cup of sugar. So it's kind of like just making a tea that you're going to drink over ice, a brewed sugary tea like us Southerners love. But you add the bottle of the original kombucha into it and then pour it into the big jar up there where the Scoby lives like I showed you. it will start forming its own Scoby from the yeast and the bacteria that are in the original. That is it, folks. That is all you have to do. The only other advice that I got and that I pass along to you is when you brew your tea, use non-chlorinated water. The chlorine is not good for the bacteria. So use non-chlorinated water, either a filtered water, or you can boil your tap water or let it sit out a while. But just be sure that you're using a non-chlorinated water, a filtered water. And also be sure that it cools off completely before you mix it with the original kombucha. You don't want to kill that yeast and bacteria with really hot tea. So I brewed it, added my sugar, 1/3 cup to half a mason jar, added the whole bottle of this, and put it up there in that jar I showed you where the Scoby's growing. I covered it with a cheesecloth and a rubber band, and we're going to keep an eye on it and see how it grows. Join me on this journey. I should hear these chilies popping. I am roasting my hatch chilies. Boom, there went a good one. I'm broiler roasting these. Sometimes I just do it on the stove top, but I had quite a tray full this time. Now, this is a variety that I bought as a start, a nursery start. And it was like New Mexico chili 1,4A. I'm really not 100% sure on that. But a lot of them are really coming ripe right now in August, just like they do in New Mexico. And I'm going to make some roasted salsa this afternoon with these. But I just wanted y'all to hear the big popping and crackling going on. And I wish I could describe the smell. It smells so amazing in here right now. Just that fresh roasted chili. Oh, it's fun. I love processing all the stuff that I've grown. It makes for a busy time of the year when things are, coming ripe. But it's awesome. And it's so rewarding to sit down with a fresh bowl of roasted chili salsa and just enjoy it and know you grew it. Yeah, this stuff's great. The other thing I've been working on briefly is just been getting so into fermenting lately because of all of its goodness for you and all of its health benefits. But I'm making me a batch of sauerkraut right now. This is just a store-bought cabbage. I'm just experimenting right now. I haven't gotten into this. I'm really dying to try some kimchi. I want to ferment some kimchi next, but I'm just pretty invested in growing the radish for the kimchi myself. But just to get started, just to get my hands on some fermenting, I bought the it's called Silliware, but it's fermenting lids. They are made for the burping. They have a little slit on this top so the gases that are forming can make their way out. If you don't use one of these kind of lids, you do have to come and burp the jar ever so often. But I haven't tried these lids before. I'll let you know how this goes. This is some just plain green cabbage sauerkraut that I've started. I did put a little bit of caraway seed in there. Of course, the kosher salt that it takes. You want to use salt that does not have preservatives or iodine in it. And the cabbage made its own juices just by massaging it and mashing it down and adding the salt. And then my weights aren't quite here yet. I have some fermenting weights coming. They're heavy glass weights that are made just for this, that'll hold the liquid down, hold the cabbage down into the liquid. But for now, I just took one of the larger outside cabbage leaves and mashed it down. And the only thing above the surface of the liquid right now is a cabbage leaf that I can just toss if mold should grow on it. We'll see how that one works. And I'm also thinking about fermenting some of my hatch chilies. I had quite a harvest of hatch chilies and more to come, so I'm probably going to ferment a jar of them as well. I was showing you earlier how I roasted them. Here, they did turn out quite pretty. Both sides are roasted now. And as they cool and I get the tops off of them, I'll be making that salsa I was talking about. But my next batch of chilies that I'm going to bring in, I'm going to slice into rings and ferment. Ooh, so much going on in the kitchen right now.